nabo wonke ama-officials akhona, uLieutenant General Jula and Mr. Gumbi and all stakeholders that are attending this meeting. And ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure for me to be called to account and be part of this meeting, as matters for discussions today are very important to both departments for economic emancipation. As you would recall, honorable members, that the outbreak is changing the way that we are doing things. And that calls for all of us to join hands and be able to do whatever the call is for us to deal with the pandemic. And I do know that honorable members for both portfolio committees as well are familiar with some of the issues that I am going to raise in my remarks. And I realize that I'm given 10 minutes, and I don't think I will be able to make a very long remark because of the time allocated. It has become very necessary, Honorable Chairperson, of the Department of the Community Safety and Liaison and DART, that we report on what we are doing, and most of it will be illustrated when the HOD is making a presentation and or SEPS on the turnaround strategy to deal with the safety in our rural communities and the farming industry. That then tells us that it's something that we are taking very seriously as a department and SEPS. Honorable members, in view of the recent surge in political killings and taxi violence and gender-based violence, I recently presented the turnaround strategy to Cabinet, that of dealing with the instability, because all of it tantamounts to instability in our province. And in due course, the Office of the Premier and the Department of Community Safety and Liaison will be able to implement the strategy that will bring peace eventually in our province. And I do wish to highlight that the Department of Community Safety and Liaison discharges its mandate through the oversight functions and monitoring the performance of our police members in different police stations. And that in itself, it helps us to understand what is exactly happening. And we do that by overseeing the effectiveness and efficiency of the police, including receiving reports from time to time. And we're promoting good working relations between the police and the communities. And we do that in terms of assessing the effectiveness of the visibility of the police. I know that because of the shortage of the police, we are yet hamstrung with the problem of being able to deal with the crime that is taking place. Honorable members, the annual crime statistics that was released by Honorable Minister Cele, it does show that there is a decrease in terms of the stock theft. But the decrease does not mean that we should be complacent, because what happens in the farming industry, stock theft is still prevalent in different districts in our province, and as such, we feel that we must appreciate this opportunity that was given to us by the invitation that was sent to us by DART, because we think the portfolio committee wisdom was very important for us. The current state of affairs calls for renewed emphasis on the relevance of a united multi-pronged strategy in responding to crime. And that tells us that we don't have to use one method to tackle the crime that is prevalent. But again, honorable members, our plans are also aimed at tackling liquor and drug abuse in the province. because drug abuse is not only prevalent in the towns, in the urban areas, even in the rural areas, where you would find that the crime that is perpetrated because of the drug abuse and liquor abuse is still there. And according to the Animal Identification Act, animal owners are required to apply for registration of an identification marks to their stock, so that even if they are stolen, but they are able to identify them easily. And we realize that most of the stock owners, especially in the rural areas, are not very keen to brand their stock. And we realize that that's one area that we think there is a gap there. And moving forward, the training and capacitation of our community structure will focus more on the work around this area, because we feel that we need to educate our communities and encourage them to brand their animals. Honorable members, the Department of Community Safety and Liaison, through its robust monitoring functions over the stock theft unit, had identified the following challenges during 2019-2020 financial year. One, the shortage of manpower. Second one, the shortage of motor vehicles and vehicles that are able to be durable because of the terrain that we have. And members have high caseloads due to human resource shortages, low finalization finalization rate of stock theft cases, and the lack of specialized prosecutors to deal with the handing over of the relevant verdict for these thieves. And that is actually not allowing us to succeed in many cases because of the shortage of the resources that we have. Honorable members, in respect of unlawful acts within the agricultural sector, the department is trying to implement, to take steps within the parameters of its legal authority to preserve the peace and secure the well-being of people within the agricultural sector, including but not limited to safety structures, crime prevention initiatives, and integrated law enforcement agencies within the agricultural sector. Monitor police effectiveness, as we said earlier, and we are embarking on that because we think it is going to help us a great deal. But over and above that, we want to foster cooperation between the two departments. And we are happy that myself and Honorable MEC for Agriculture and Rural Development, we are yet going to sign a memorandum of understanding so that together we are able to cooperate and work towards bringing peace and stability within the farming industry. Because we realize that the farming industry is going to assist us in boosting our economy, more especially after this pandemic. And honorable members, we also want to say that we are promoting safety in rural areas, and that in building structures right from the top to the bottom. And to the bottom, we mean to the VD level. And this is why we are now embarking in employing 110 volunteers that would be assisting the police and the communities, farming communities, in this regard. And we realize that some of the areas, they need us as well to employ some volunteers to be part of that. Honorable members, as part of our mediation and intervention processes, after the Mpukunyono Pondweni Somkele mine matters, that was brought to us by His Majesty the King. We are involved in trying to assist and bringing in communities those that are not very keen to be removed, so that the mining could take place, and thus boosting the economy of our province. That's a volatile situation there, and but we think because we had succeeded in the past when we were able to work, led by the Premier, we were able to deal with RPM. We think even there we will be able to deal with that one as well. And with the cooperation from ATIA, as the department whose line function is to deal with economic matters, we believe we are able to deal with it. I must say in conclusion, Chair, I must indicate again that the provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal and myself, responsible for security, we are unwavering in our commitment to ensure that there is safety and security in our rural communities. And as I said earlier, we want to applaud the decision, that the resolution that was taken by both Community Safety and the Department of Agriculture portfolio committees, that we come and present to it what our strategies are. And through you, Chair, I think Ukumbi and SEPS, under the leadership of General Chula, will be able to elaborate more on the issues and how we are going to implement this strategy. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairpersons.
Thank you very much, MSC Mpemba, for that detailed political report. You must ask for a share from the HOD's compensation this month, as you have done, I think, about 70% of his work namhlanje kule presentation. Before I take our next speakers, may I check MSC? May I check if you are going to stay with us until the end of the first part of our meeting?
Yes, I will, up until the first part of the meeting, Chair. Thanks.
All right. Okay, then, honorable members, let's take all the presentations and then discuss towards the end as per the agenda. I was worried that Mpemba might leave the meeting before we get to point number 5 to address the issues of taxi violence somewhere. Okay, HOD and Commissioner Chula, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable MSCs, Honorable members, and the Commissioner Sibanyoni, General Chula, and all colleagues. Good morning. There are two presentations that we will make, Honorable Chairperson. In the light of what the Honorable Chair have indicated, the first presentation was going to be a presentation from the Department of Community Safety and Liaison, which the Honorable MSC have covered all the activities that we were going to share with the Honorable members. But the key presentation is the presentation, Honorable Chair, that is currently being reflected, that is responding to the 8 pillars of the strategy that we are currently updating the Honorable members on. I will be guided by yourself, Chair, if we still need to go through the initial presentation, or can that presentation be taken as a presentation that is currently being officially tabled, and we allow Provincial Commissioner to take us through the update in terms of the performance of the province in relating to the 8 pillars of the strategy. Honorable Chair.
Thank you, HOD. If you are comfortable that MSC has covered your presentation, I think we won't stand in your way. Honorable members, I think we can move to the presentation yourselves. Is that agreed, honorable members?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, all right. Yes, HOD. There is an agreement that we take the presentation community safety as tabled by the MEC, and we are ready to receive a
Sorry, Chair.
presentation.
Chairperson?
Hi, hello.
It's Papa. So I just wanted to find out: is there a document or a presentation or some sort of formal communication that we'll receive in terms of what the department was going to give us?
Yes, it was sent to our emails.
Okay, is it the same one?
Yes, it's the same one that the MSC was speaking to.
Great, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Over to you, Commissioner Chula.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, all the honorable members, the MEC, and to everybody else who is present. Good morning to you all. Our presentation.
Sorry to interrupt. Sicela ukumbona.
Ucela ubona mina?
Cha. Isikhulumi Sihlalo.
Oh,
Come here.
okay, Commissioner. All right, Commissioner, please, they want to record your face.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We are addressing that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's possible to see your presentation and your face. I think it's quite difficult. I think Mam Kumetu Maubona at the bottom of the screen you'll see a small pictures of the general.
We cannot. Your presentation just will be far. We share.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. I'm not sure whether I am now visible.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Thank you so much to the Honorable Chair, all the honorable members, the MEC, and everybody else present. Our presentation, it is going to be in two different parts. The first part of the presentation addresses specific concerns which has been raised by the committee. And that part of the presentation is going to be done by myself. It will then be followed by another presentation, which is going to be done by Brigadier Keswa, who is seated right next to me, which deals more with the how part of how we are doing things in terms of rural safety. So in addressing the very first question, the first question was, how are the rural stations resourced? Our response to this question is as follows. Rural stations in KwaZulu-Natal are resourced in terms of the size of the community that is being serviced and the geographical terrain of the landscape. We also use the provincial fixed establishment document, which we call the THRR in the South African Police Service, which guides us in terms of the manpower and the resources that has to be allocated for each specific policing precinct. In terms of concern number 2, this concern is as follows. Do they have adequate and functional vehicles to access the crime scenes? Our response is as follows. Rural stations in KwaZulu-Natal are given priority by the supply chain management in terms of the allocation of the suitable terrain. And then we from that determine what type of vehicles need to be allocated in a specific area, whether we need 4x4s, 2x4s for a particular area. And this also includes access to crime scenes, the type of the vehicles that will be required in each crime scene which needs to be accessed. In terms of concern number 3, it was as follows. What additional resources are made specifically available for farm attacks, that is specialized crime scene analysts and specialized trauma counselors? Our response is as follows. In the event of a farm attack or incident, all relevant experts and specialized units are mobilized in terms of the National Instruction Number 1 of 2015. That is the crime scene management instruction of this organization. The ballistics reconstruction team is always available on request by the investigating officers. And the turnaround time for ballistics analysis for these cases is 35 calendar days from receipt at the laboratory. The turnaround for DNA analysis is not within the control of the Forensic Science Laboratory in KZN, as these services are provided by both Gauteng and Western Cape. I think in this regard, it is common knowledge that there were some issues, which included also issues of flooding, which happened or which keeps on happening whenever we have the inclement weather. And as a result of that, some of the laboratories, they are not in a condition where they can be used. So we therefore have to seek help from the laboratories that are in the other provinces. And in terms of trauma counseling and the psychological services, 154 police stations have victim-friendly centers at their stations. The 30 police stations that do not have victim-friendly facility centers, however, still provide victim-friendly services when needed. The Department of Social Development is contacted by the police station, and DSD gets the relevant trauma counselors called out to assist the victims. There are also 9 Thuthuzela centers in the province that have all relevant specialized experts to assist victims as well. Concern number 4, which is what is the average turnaround time on forensics for farm attacks? And our response is as follows. The turnaround time for ballistics analysis for farm murders is 35 calendar days from receipt at the laboratory. And the turnaround for DNA analysis is not within the control of the FSL in KZN, as these services are provided by both Gauteng and Western Cape, as I've stated before already. So now, in terms of concern number 5, which goes as follows. What specialist training are SAPS responders given to deal with farm attacks and the follow-up work involved? Our response is as follows. Provincial Visible Policing initiated farm attack simulation training exercises in terms of PCCF instruction number 218 of 2017 is adhered to. And these exercises have been developed to train internal and external responders in the event of a farm attack. That is how to respond and how to deal with that specific crime situation, to conduct follow-up, in terms of the investigation and to give progress to the farmers. This is the type of training which they receive. Concern number 6, does SAPS keep an updated database on farm attack modus operandi and forensic results that it can cross-reference? Our response is as follows. A database on all farm attacks or incidents is kept on a monthly basis by the Provincial Visible Policing. This database is compared with the national database so that we have the correct totals of all farm incidents in the province. These farm attacks totals need to be verified and to be correct as it gets reported to the National Portfolio Committee by the National Commissioner's Office. The next concern, will the MEC or the SAPS be requesting the Premier to implement an interministerial committee on rural safety to regularly report back on rural safety issues in the province? And if not, why? Our response, this will be an excellent initiative from the MEC's office. The HODs of various departments can get involved in rural safety in the province and have a first-hand experience of the critical issues affecting stations and the rural and farming communities in KwaZulu-Natal. This will also have a very positive effect in terms of policing, community safety, food security, and service delivery to the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Concern number 8. Does the Minister get reports for the SAPS Rural Safety Priority Unit? And what does these reports suggest? And what actions are is the MEC or SAPS taking in this regard? Our response: the Provincial Priority Committee for Rural Safety meets on a monthly basis to discuss all rural safety critical matters at station level. The role players for this forum includes provincial commanders and district commissioners, COCTA, DSD, DHA, RTI, Kwanalu, AfriForum, FASA, NPA, KZN, Wildlife, DEF, DRDLR, DOT, SNDF, and community safety. And all critical issues and crime stats from the Priority Committee Rural Safety meeting gets presented to the Provincial Joint Forum on a monthly basis, where the Department of Community Safety and Liaison is also part of. All critical rural safety and crime-related issues affecting stations are operationalized, and specific directives are given to cluster to execute proactive measures and plans to combat these crimes or problematic situations. Rural Safety Project Plan, in terms of Instruction 127 of 2017, initiated for clusters to conduct operations and awareness campaigns at station level in terms of rural safety. Concern number 9, what is the cost of farm theft and crime on farms to the economy of KZN? The response: the farming community provides an essential service to the people of KwaZulu-Natal in terms of the production and processing of raw materials, food, and various other products. They also provide employment to thousands of people in the province. According to Kwanalu, the cost can run up to several of millions of rands. And the damage to sugarcane fields, farm equipment, and property alone can run into millions on its own. The theft on farms and the crime on farms has a drastic effect on the economy of KZN. Concern number 10, will the MEC or SAPS consider a rural safety summit to invite experts in the field to assist the province in developing practical steps to curb farm murders in fair response? A rural safety summit, a great initiative for the province where experts in rural safety left can brainstorm and develop practical steps and guidelines to curb farm attacks on farm matters. Concern number 11, will the MEC or SAP support our call to declare farm matters as hate crime given the brutality involved in many of these horrendous farm attacks? The response: the SAPS will support this initiative to declare farm matters as a hate crime or priority crime, taking into account the brutal nature of some of these farm matters. Concern number 12, how many stations are ranked as rural stations, and how many of those fully comply with the rural safety policy and are patrolling? The response: KwaZulu-Natal has 184 stations. 62 are rural, 92 urban-rural mix, and 30 are urban stations. All 184 stations are 100% compliant in terms of the rural safety strategy. Visible policing, crime prevention operations, vehicle patrols, foot patrols are conducted via the Provincial Rural Safety Project Plan 2021 and the PCSF Instruction number 127 of 2017. Concern 13, How many of these stations work with the private security companies that rural communities are forced to hire to keep them safe? Response: most of the farming communities have private security companies monitoring and guarding their farms in order to keep themselves and their farm workers and their property safe. Stations invite private security companies within their station area to be part of the monthly station Rural Safety Committee meetings. They also work with them, since the private security companies are usually the first responders at the crime scene. Concern number 14, have there been arrests made in the last 10 cases of farm attacks? The response is yes. In the last 10 cases of farm attacks or incidents, we had 4 arrests that were effected. Concern number 15, how are stock theft units resourced? The response, the province currently has 16 stock theft units servicing 11 districts. Stock theft and endangered species units are well equipped with the following. There is vehicles suitable for the terrain, computers and cameras, office equipment, torches and binoculars, and human resources or the members. Concern number 16, could the MEC or SAPS provide the committee with the names of police stations, staff and patrol vehicles responsible for rural safety in each of the clusters in the province and the level of functionality of each of these units? The response, the province has the following levels of functionality and rural safety coordinators. Firstly, it's the provincial rural safety coordinator and the cluster rural safety coordinator, which will now change to district safety coordinators, and the station rural safety coordinator. Contact details are available and can be provided. Concern number 17. COVID-19 has seen a rapid increase in farm attacks that threatens food security in KZN. What are the practical steps the MEC or SAPS will be recommending to the KZN Cabinet to curb farm attacks and to protect food security in KZN? The response, practical steps to curb farm attacks and preserve food security, enhance service delivery to rural and farming communities. Improving and enhancing relationships between the police, farming community, traditional authorities, other stakeholders, and extended rural communities. Increase police visibility in rural and farming areas. Create effective and efficient policing in rural and farming areas. Protect the vulnerable, those are women, children, the elderly, the disabled people, and foreigners against abuse and exploitation. Enhance safety awareness for rural and farming communities, educating and mobilizing the rural and farming communities on safety and security matters. Strengthen relationship building within the rural and farming communities. Enhance cooperation and establishment of partnerships and enhance communication and relationships. Create opportunities for community involvement and community projects in rural safety. Improve investigation of crime and convictions for crimes committed in rural areas. Encourage all stakeholders in rural safety to work together in a coordinated and integrated manner. Engage in joint planning, implementation, development, and evaluation to combat crime in rural areas as determined by the National Rural Safety Strategy. Concern number 18. Will the MEC or SAPS implement a dashboard to monitor the attacks and develop an appropriate response to the data analytics in respect of farm attacks in KZN? The responses, the SAPS will support this initiative to implement a dashboard to monitor farm attacks in order to develop an appropriate response to data analytics in respect of farm attacks in KwaZulu-Natal. Concern number 19. There are many innovative solutions to respond to farm attacks. Will the MEC or SAPS partner with farming communities to further roll out innovative solutions to deep rural areas in KZN to protect our farmers and rural communities. The response: SAPS will support innovative solutions to curb farm attacks. SAPS would welcome the partnership with the rural and farming communities in this province. The rollout of innovative ideas and solutions to farming and rural communities is an excellent initiative. Concern 20. Does SAPS keep separate statistics from other stats for farms and farm attacks and murders? The response is: the provincial visible policing stats and database on farm attacks and murders on its own. This is kept and coordinated by the provincial rural safety coordinator. So yes, we do keep such a record of such information. Concern number 21. What are the SAPS set targets when the achievement for implementation is noted as 100% in policing? The response: there are set targets for every crime category in SAPS, and whenever 100% is achieved, then SAPS have to maintain that 100% achievement. It cannot happen that more than 100% target can be set. Concern number 22, how has the National Rural Safety Strategy impacted on the on the criminal activities? Is there a decrease or an increase? The National Rural Safety Strategy has impacted well in the province. The Rural Safety Strategy was implemented through an integrated and multidisciplinary approach, including the mobilization of the rural community and farming community in creating a safe and secure environment, which is conducive to food security. Every member of the South African Police Service that is stationed at a rural station will be required to do the right things right every time. The success of the implementation of the Rural Safety Strategy depends largely on the effective participation and accountability of all governmental and non-governmental stakeholders, as well as the active participation of the community in local crime prevention initiatives and interventions. We have seen a decrease in stop theft and rhino poaching cases in the past few months. Concern number 23. Out of the 184 police stations, how many have the rural safety plan that is known by the community? The response: KwaZulu-Natal has 184 stations. 62 are rural, 92 are urban-rural mix, and 30 are urban stations. With only 154 stations, we have to implement the rural safety in terms of the National Rural Safety Strategy. All rural and urban rural mix policing stations must have a rural safety plan in place annually. This is a joint plan involving all internal and external role players that form part of the station Rural Safety Committee Forum meetings. The CPFs also play a very important part of the forum as they are a link between SAPS and the community and are responsible for informing the rural and farming communities of the station rural safety plan. Station rural safety coordinators and sector commanders also inform the farming and rural communities of their rural safety plans during their farm visits and awareness campaigns and the community imbizos and meetings. Rural safety plans are inclusive of all communities with the rural environment. There is farmers, farm workers, subsistence farmers, traditional leaders, villages, women, elderly, the disabled, immigrants, and children, etc. Concern 24, is Emvelo Wildlife not part of the stakeholders, especially with rhino poaching? How are they involved? The response, as Emvelo KZN Wildlife is an essential stakeholder in the investigation of environmental related crimes in the province. They are an active role player at our provincial rural safety meetings. They are involved in crime prevention duties in and outside the game parks. They assist with investigations of cases. They are part of monthly priority committee meetings and the PBIF meetings. They attend crime scenes and operations, and they assist in sharing of information and best practices. Concern number 5, were there any activities which took place after April 20? And if yes, please state them. The response: districts that contribute towards rhino poaching will continue with their day-to-day patrols and operations. These operations are not conducted inside the game parks, reserves, but along the main roads and the vicinity of the game parks. The Rhino project team, that is ORS, TRT, K9, are still being deployed in the problematic areas in terms of conducting operations outside the game reserves and the parks to apprehend illegal rhino poachers. We have seen a decrease in rhino poaching cases since April 2020 to date. Concern number 26, please share your functionality in the uThukela district. The response: provincial visible policing conducted the following in the uThukela district: joint multidisciplined rural safety and stock theft operations, station rural safety compliance test, visits and inspections, district work sessions for the implementation of the rural safety strategy, district planning work session for the activation of the farm attack simulation exercises. Cluster farm attack simulation exercises executed in terms of PCCF Instruction 218 of 2017. Provincial Wildlife Crime Forum. uThukela District was in attendance as active role players. The Provincial Priority Committee Rural Safety uThukela Cluster was in attendance as active role players. The Provincial Stop Theft Forum uThukela Cluster STU was in attendance as the active role player. That deals with all the 26 concerns that were raised, Honorable Chair. With your permission, I can now allow Brigadier Keswa to briefly mention the how in more detail of how we do these things, but we'll try to be very brief, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, General Chula. Brigadier. And please summarize.
I'll try, Honorable Chair. Honorable
Happy Women's
Chairperson.
Month, Brigadier Keswa.
Happy Women's Month also, ma'am. Honorable Chairperson, to all honorable members, my MEC, I can clearly say that the protocol is respectfully and duly observed. Honorable Chairperson, as my General Chula was indicating about a project plan that we are running as a province, we have taken note of the statistics yearly, and this became the basis of how we developed the project plan. We also looked at the National Rural Safety Strategy, the 8 pillars, how we're going to implement it as a province. Honorable Chair, what I can say that the project has been running from 2018 till date, but it is a yearly project that is reviewed monthly with all the relevant support structures, which is our stakeholders from within the organization as well as the external. The project plan is actually run by myself as a project manager. We have the following people that are part of it. That is our provincial heads from the investigative departments. We've got our district commissioner, which were then the cluster commanders. We've got our provincial joint committee structures. We've got our priority committee structures. We've got our external heads of department, as well as our community structures as well, and our members of the farming community. We can clearly say that the cases that we received in respect of the stock theft investigation last year, we have made 175 arrests, that is docket cases, with the possession of suspected stolen cases. We've got Meat Safety Act in respect of 10 cases. The Animal Identification Act, it's 3,175, Chair. The J534s that we have issued in respect of the summons, we've got failures to have required stock certificates where it talks to purchase and movement. We've got 83 cases. We're very honored, Chair, to indicate to this committee that our conviction rate in respect of stock theft, we have seen an increase of 85.71%. Our detection rate in respect of hunting all this, we've seen that the decline, but it's 31%. In respect of our J534s, as well as the successes that we have acquired for the financial year last year, in respect of the arrest of all crimes that are committed within the rural environment, we've got 1,442. We also got additional J534 for all other, be it its animal identification, be it it's every J534, it can even go up to liquor. We've got 4,746. In the project itself, we have seen a recovery of the stock that was stolen, especially when it comes to cattle. We've recovered 6,473. When it comes to sheep, we've recovered 1,058. When it comes to goat, we have recovered 2,712. Horses, it's 91, and one can say even the pigs itself. The provincial initiated project, it's looking at all the hotspots within the province and also determined by the modus operandi, also determined by the crime picture as well as crime threat analysis and crime pattern analysis. We have conducted 49 provincially initiated operations, which are focusing on all the hotspot, be it its waylays, be it its operations that are already intelligence-driven operations. It's only known by the team that is actually deployed from the provincial level. Chair, if I can also mention the issue that we have cross-border operation, because take into consideration that KZN is adjacent to Eastern Cape as well as adjacent to Lesotho. It's also adjacent to Free State. We had operations. One can clearly say that we've been at Bizani, we've been in Cedarville, we've been in Harrismith, we've been in Bergville. We had also joint operations with the farming community where Agri-SA and AfriForum were part of it. Chair, if I can say, our project is looking at the implementation of the rural safety strategy. We are in 100% compliant in terms of the criteria that was articulated to us. We've got also to see to it to the 100% implementation. We have seen the action plans that are derived or compiled by the district stations. We have conducted compliance inspection. We have done work sessions, training, in-service training. We have given the guidelines in respect of how our technical indicator description, that is our process flow, what is expected from each coordinator and the station commander as well as the district commissioner. In respect of our work session, it was presented to all our rural station as well as our rural-urban mix in the province. Chair, in respect of our governance also, in respect of your Auditor General SA, which we need to always guard against whether we are in compliance with it. It's also been monitored as well as sessions are held with members and stations, and then your visible policing commanders are also forming part of that. And then we've got our provincial rural safety coordinator, which is reported directly to myself, Chair. Chair, if you're looking at, we need to be able to monitor and evaluate whether our activities are addressing the core issues. And we have in the province what we call it a provincial priority committee that's looking at critical issues. The issues that we're looking at, it's your land issues, that is your disputes, your stock theft, your rhino poaching, the type of combating operations that we're having in respect of your illegal hunting and also rhino poaching, your farming incidents or farming attacks, your establishment of animal pounds in the district, your stray animals that are found on the public road. We're also looking at your human resources, physical resources, as well as structural defects at the station. Chair, if you can see, all of that are in compliance with the 8th pillar of the National Rural Safety Strategy. And Chair, we do have challenges, but these challenges are not challenges that one cannot address, because we do report them in our provincial joints, which is chaired by our Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Chura. But one will need, or one will appreciate, if we can have additional more pounds within that are established within the province, and also, Chair, our livestock owners for not marking or brand marking their stock. It is becoming a challenge. If you can check in respect of our increase of our J534 regarding animal identification, you can see that it is a challenge. But public education programs are in place, Chair, and we are going around the provinces with our stakeholders, educating why there is a need that they must be able to mark their stock. Chair, if you also look, yes, we have issue ineffective mechanism in respect of network. There are some of the farming areas that are challenged in respect of the communication, but it doesn't stop us from addressing the levels of crime in that area. Chair, we have seen the decline in respect of our, as the general indicated, our stock theft as well as our rhino poaching, because if we had it earlier, that the project plan is also looking at having it's a multidisciplinary collaborated approach that focus on farm attack, tourist attack, rhino poaching, stock theft, land issues, intergroup conflict, wildlife crime, hunting with dogs, domestic violence, substance abuse, non-farers, and crimes against vulnerable people. Chair, if we can continue the whole, we can actually, our document can continue the whole day, but let me safe to say that the provincial orders, the provincial instructions, the national instruction, as well as the strategy and the communication between all the relevant role players are being monitored daily and weekly and monthly. That is all if I summarize it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Brigadier Keswa. Honorable members, I know that you do not have copies of the presentations by subs, but I allowed the department to continue with their presentations, notwithstanding the resolutions of the committee regarding the late submissions of reports by the department. I will be guided by you regarding the way forward, or how we deal with the presentations by subs when we get to the item. For now, let me invite the next speaker, which is Afra. Yes, we have Mr. Sithole, who is a program director at Afra, accompanied by Mrs. Nompumelelo. Mr. Sithole, over to you. Baba Sithole, ukhona? Afra, Are you in the meeting?
Greetings, Honorable. It's Nompumelelo Kubheka from Afra.
All right, thank you. Happy Women's Month, Nompumelelo. You are welcome. Please take
Thank you
us through
so
your
much,
presentation.
ma'am. Same to you. Thank you, ma'am. Before I proceed, I would like assistance with displaying my presentation. I'm currently having technical issues.
Okay, Mr. Ngosi, please assist.
Noted, Sir.
It's so encouraging to be in a meeting where women are presenting and leading delegations, especially in this month of August.
Viva Mbogodo.
Yeah.
Good luck to you as well, Chair.
Unjalo, Bonga.
Siyabonga Shemeni.
Thank you. Please proceed, Nompumelelo.
Thank you for the assistance. Greetings to the chairperson, Honorable Sibhidla Sapeta, MEC Ntuli, MEC Sithole, members, and all stakeholders present. My name is Unompumelelo Kubheka. I am from the Association for Rural Advancement, which is AFRA in short. AFRA is a land rights non-profit organization based in Pietermaritzburg, KwaZulu-Natal, which works with farm dwellers. Farm dwellers is an encompassing term that includes farm occupiers who live on farms, farm workers who work on farms, and labor tenant and their associates who also live on farms. AFRA was started in 1979 to assist rural communities in their struggles against apartheid, land dispossession, and mass evictions. Our mandate accordingly necessitates that we ensure that the voices of rural people are heard in legislative and policy-making spaces, and we have achieved this through multi-stakeholder approach. AFRA would like to thank the Portfolio Committee of Agriculture and Rural Development for extending its invitation to the organization. It is indeed an honor to be part of this process. AFRA celebrated its 40th anniversary in June last year, and this goes to show that the struggles faced by farm dwellers remain prevalent. Included in these struggles is the issue of safety on farms, which relates to the business of today's meeting. AFRA has two main program areas, namely the Land Rights Program, which deals with promotion and protection of rights. This is where impact litigation sits. The second program area is strengthening rural democracy. This is where the farm dwellers are mobilized in order to advocate for their rights. AFRA has facilitated a process of organizing farm dwellers, and this led to the formation of a task team called Labor Tenant Task Team, which comprises of various structures operating in Amajuba, uThukela, Zululand, and Umgungundlovu district. One of these structures is Siyanqoba Rural Transformation Forum, which is based in the district, which is where AFRA mostly works from. This structure was formed, and one of the key lessons learned through the structure was the absence of women voices. This gave rise to the formation of Qina Mbogodo, which means be strong like a rock. Qina Mbogodo is a women's network within the Siyangoba Rural Transformation Forum that has finally given voices to gender exploitation experiences by rural women on land. AFRA supported by Commonwealth Foundation has embarked on an intervention of giving. AFRA contracted a registered psychologist to give this support, but this was done in a small scale, and part of our recommendation is that it is expanded across the province. When these structures were consulted around the National Rural Safety Strategy, it became clear that the relationship between the South African Police Services officials and farm dwellers remains one that critically needs to be addressed. The reflections shared by the Siyangoba Rural Transformation Forum and Qina Mbogodo shows that challenges and wide gaps exist between them. AFRA has relied on different structures mentioned above to highlight the persisting challenges and case studies which we hope can support the implementation of the National Rural Safety Strategy. These structures have also made recommendations that can bridge such gaps. One of the key challenges, or main challenges to be precise, is the fact that some of the community members who are farm dwellers are part of the Community Police Forum, but are not aware of the strategy. We also noticed that KZN is not included on the list of farms in the National Rural Safety Strategy reports. Perhaps this could have been an oversight, which we do acknowledge. It has been reported that officials do not respond as quick to farm dwellers compared to landowners. The strategy used by officials to intervene in gender-based violence cases is said to be not helpful to victims, as when reporting cases, they are told to think the matter through and try to resolve it with their partners. This is said to be mostly done by male officials to women victims who are often told that they have a habit of changing their minds, hence they must try to resolve the matters with their partners, which is clearly not effective. It is through these structures that we have learned of different case studies that were reported to AFRA, and some of them will be clarified shortly. For example, there has been a lot of cases which have been reported where people have been physically abused by farm owners, and these cases end up nowhere. A lot of farm dweller cases have been reported, and there seems to be an idea that police officers mostly take sides of the farm owner over farm dwellers. Farm dwellers have a lot of questions which end up nowhere, especially in cases reported to SAPS. A lot of people have case numbers that end up nowhere, and cases are not taken any further. Over the past years, there has been a high escalation of violent attack on farms. One of the areas which have been having such cases is Zululand District Municipality. The number of violent cases reported to SAPS has escalated, and many farm dwellers have lost trust in government institutions because of certain behavioral patterns which exist, and some I have alluded to. Officials are reported to be making assumptions that only landowners have rights and farm dwellers need to be subservient to rules imposed by landowners. This is articulated in cases where a landowner was reported for swearing and passing racial remarks. In this case, officials told farm dwellers to produce proof, where in fact farm dwellers were requesting for a protection order against the landowner. There is another layer to the above issues, and that is the connection between the issue of safety and lack of provision of services to farm dwellers. For example, in our previous research that we did on farm dwellers, we have found that there are farm dwellers who use open fields to relieve themselves because there is no proper sanitation. These experiences touches to the hearts of safety, particularly for women and children, and this makes women and children vulnerable to crimes such as rape and kidnapping. The lack of services on farms, the continued skewed power in favor of farmers also exacerbates the tensions on farms where people are feeling they are being wronged and subjected to apartheid-like systems because of their race, geographical location, which takes away their dignity. This then creates a situation where they often fight for such rights. This is one of the reasons why AFRA asked the court to order for the provision of basic services for the benefit of farm dwellers. Though this may not be relevant to the business of today's meeting, however, I have highlighted the connection. The situation then persists where private landowners do not allow municipalities to access farms in order to provide basic services. The High Court in the Pietermaritzburg found that municipalities within Umgungundlovu district had failed to provide farm dwellers with access to basic services such as water, adequate sanitation, and refuse removal. The court ordered that local municipalities need to provide such basic services and, more importantly, to include the delivery of such intervention in their integrated development plans. This was a milestone judgment, not just for the Umgungundlovu district, but for the country as a whole. For a detailed understanding of the case, the citation is Mshengu and others versus Msunduzi local municipalities and others, and a link has been provided. The structures which we have alluded to have made some of the recommendations that they feel can bridge some of the above gaps. The first one is that there needs to be a clear how to factor on how consultation with rural communities will occur as outlined on the different pillars. As it is shared that the violence on farms should be reported to the Visible Policing Division within 24 hours, it was recommended that those expected to report such cases be made aware of these critical units that is available. AFRA also recommends that the South African Police Services must work with community organizations across the province to establish a WhatsApp group where violence can be reported, and this group will be monitored by SAPS. This is one of the reasons, because of the current lockdown, as well as the accessibility on farms for various reasons, one which could be the landowner refusing SAPS officials to access the farms, perhaps this tool could be used to bridge this gap. This has been a huge learning and success during the current lockdown for AFRA, as we were forced to use remote tools to work, and it has been indeed a good monitoring strategy which has enhanced our referral and monitoring strategy. Another recommendation is that there needs to be a psychosocial support that is given to women and children across the province. Sadly, AFRA cannot afford to provide the service across the province. However, we can share learnings, as we have indicated that a psychologist has been contracted and is currently providing the services to women across Umgungundlovu districts. Another recommendation is that a well-trained and experienced gender officer must be part and parcel of all strategies designed to support communities. The National Rural Safety Strategy should also have a distinct gender lens on some of the challenges reported and experienced. We have acknowledged that there is a connection between the South African Police Service and the Department of Social Development. However, this should be made aware to people living in rural communities. Another recommendation is that there needs to be a multi-stakeholder approach. This we have learned from the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, which has successfully modeled a multi-stakeholder approach by piloting the Interim Land Rights Management Committee in terms of the Extension of Security of Tenure Act, which was amended. However, regulations are still currently being underway. For example, in this committee, the SAPS in Umshwati is part of it. This also includes farm dwellers and other relevant stakeholders such as AFRA, Department of Justice, and Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. This committee was established to explore and attempt to resolve local and land conflicts and is a provision of the Extension of Security of Tenure Amendment Act. This platform can also be used to take forward issues of safety in farming communities through multi-stakeholder approach, because we often find that though the focus would be on safety, but sometimes the issue of safety often comes from the fact that these farm dwellers had advocated for their rights and a landowner felt threatened, and then the situation just gets out of hand. We also recommend that through multi-stakeholder approach and alternative dispute resolution, these gaps can be bridged. The promotion of ADR mechanism or alternative dispute resolutions mechanism is one of the key factors that can bridge this gap, simply because farm dwellers and landowners share the same space, and it also creates a way for a relationship building. Another recommendation is an information dissemination strategy through samples or pamphlets. The previous presenter has alluded to their communication strategy being on par, and we fully support that. One of the ways that AFRA has approached this was to produce different toolkits on different labor rights and other rights that farm dwellers need to know. These are often translated in isiZulu and distributed in different areas where farm dwellers can access them so that they are able to advocate for their rights. AFRA recommends that the same approach is followed across the province. Another recommendation is that farm dwellers need to be given feedback on cases that they have reported on. The WhatsApp group can also be used to do this. AFRA also recommends that the use of alternative dispute resolution, which is more efficient and cheaper than litigation, which is always adversarial. Though the SAPS cannot have control over this once the matter has been reported, however, if there is a holistic approach where parties come together, perhaps this could be one of the solutions to approach some of the critical issues that are faced by farm dwellers when it comes to safety. Through the promotion of ADR or alternative dispute resolution, AFRA has recently developed an alternative dispute resolution guide in partnership with the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Legal Aid South Africa, and probono.org, to mention a few. This guide was aimed at assisting ADR practitioners to deliver quality mediations. Again, the link to this guide can also be accessed and is part of the presentation, which can also be shared if needed. We have approached some of the community representatives who were consulted around the National Rural Safety Strategy in different districts that AFRA has a footprint on, and they have said that they are ready and willing to provide SAPS with more information on safety on farms in order to tackle national safety rural strategy forward. In concluding, it is clear that a multi-stakeholder approach can be one of the key mechanisms that can solve some of the issues that are faced by farm dwellers or people living in rural communities. This will also assist them because there is the issue of access. In case there is that issue, then these community members and others who are also willing, who will be willing, if consulted, they can be part of this, and the National Rural Safety Strategy can be taken forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kubeka. Thank you so much for that detailed presentation. We now quickly move to the next presentation that will be done by South African Human Rights Commission. The presentation will be led by Commissioner Sibanyoni, who is accompanied by his colleague from the commission, Miss Commissioner Sibanyoni. Are you with us?
Yes, Chairperson. I'm with
Okay,
you.
thank
Am I
you.
audible?
Thank you so much. Yes, it's now your turn to give us your report on the matter.
Thank you very much for the invitation by the Portfolio Committee on Agricultural and Rural Development. And good morning to you, Chairperson, and honorable members and all other stakeholders. I'm accompanied by the research assistant, Mr. Linda Mdabe. He stated to me that Abagwam Mdabe, Abagwandosi. And then I am JB Sibanyoni, the commissioner at the South African Human Rights Commission. And my focus area is called environment, land, and the right to food. And that is why the issue of security on farms falls within my focus area. And let me just share with you that I had an opportunity of studying law at the University of Zululand, Ongoye, Wadlangezwa. And also to say that when I was there, I was asked by a certain Mr. Mkwanazi to say, Abagwa Sibanyoni, Abagwa Bani. And then I said, Abagwa Mkwanazi. And then he related to me to say, oh, Onkwali Nkosi, Oshamase. And I also want to acknowledge the assistance of your IT, Mr. Chairperson, Mr. Tyran, because there were some hiccups when I started this morning trying to connect, but he was helpful. And then I will be making a mistake if I don't acknowledge also the assistance that the South African Human Rights Commission is assisted by Radio Kwezi at Stenga, Guadugoza. We have been there on the 16th to the 18th of March when we did our provincial support to KZN. We also visited our office, which is in KZN. Without any waste of time, Chairperson, the South African Human Rights Commission is one of the institutions supporting constitutional democracy in terms of Chapter 9 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. And then it gets its powers and functions from the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa Act number 108 of 1996, as well as an enabling act. An enabling act is the South African Human Rights Commission Act number 40 of 2013. We have shared a document with the portfolio committee. That document also focuses on the recommendations by the South African Human Rights Commission. But it is important just to give you a background as to how did the South African Human Rights Commission come to that recommendation. The South African Human Rights Commission received a number of complaints on human rights abuses in the farming sector. And the Commission therefore instituted a comprehensive national inquiry into human rights violations in the farming communities in June 2001, which culminated in a final report that was published in August 2003. This report, Chairperson and members, it is in our website, but it was also submitted at Parliament. Now, what were the mischiefs by that time? The mischiefs were ongoing evictions from farms, despite the promulgation of the legislation to protect tenure security, the general and widespread lack of compliance with labor legislation, the vulnerability of women and seasonal workers on farms, unacceptable levels of crime and violence experienced in farming communities, a lack of confidence in the ability of the legal system to address the needs of farm dwellers, limited access to services and housing on farms, a lack of information on HIV/AIDS and associated challenges in extending healthcare services within farming areas. Those were the issues that were brought before the Human Rights Commission. And then the principal recommendations of the report was then a formation of a farming community forum in the office of the presidency, where farm dwellers, farm owners, and government interact and address the many issues facing people within farming communities. And then, as I've said, that the report also tabled numerous recommendations relating to land rights, labor, safety and security, economic and social rights. Chairperson, I was born before technology. Maybe someone will assist me to place the recommendations that we have shared with the portfolio committee this morning.
Mr. Nkosi, please help Shamas. Thank you,
While-
Mr. Nkosi.
Thank you very much. I omitted to say that the South African Human Rights Commission, myself, as well as Mr. Linda Mtabe, visited KZN on the 16th to the 18th of March, and we had an opportunity of going to New England, the landfill, as well as in Pietermaritzburg, where we interacted with AFRA as one of the stakeholders. Now, I want to deal with the recommendations that were made by the South African Human Rights Commission. There are 12 in number, Chairperson. And then I would like to go to recommendation number 1. Mr. Nkosi, if you can, yes. Let me say that the recommendations are also based on the utterances that were made by our firstly democratically elected president of the Republic of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, who said, among other things, I want to quote, "Beyond the immediate human suffering, lack of security and stability in our rural and farming community causes serious disruption to our economy. It threatens to bring reduced growth or production, loss of wages and profits, and in time unemployment. It brings the specter of deepening poverty and potential and social instability and upheaval." Now, Chairperson, the reality of farm safety, insofar as the challenges that are faced by the farm dwellers, farm workers, and the farm owners is very wide. Now, the Human Rights Commission acknowledged that should violence in farming communities be addressed in a comprehensive manner, the human rights of all members of these communities shall be entrenched and upheld. It is so that South Africa needs to turn the untenable situation regarding safety and security in farming communities into the right to life. And this will be done by involving the identified role players in the follow-up dialogue, keeping the matter on our national human rights agenda, highlighting the many rights that are in play in farming communities. In addition, the Commission will assist in facilitating of farming dialogues or provincial and sectoral levels. This is an updated report because it talks about what are the progress since our first report that was submitted at Parliament, and that has been published in our website. And going on, I would like to say that if I go to recommendation number 2, if Mr. Nkosi can help to scroll down. Okay, thank you very much. And then I want to say the Commission, as I've said, that it will provide the need for respect of and adherence of human rights in farming communities in the human advocacy and awareness of programs. This advocacy, Chairperson, we do it through the length and breadth of our countries by our outreach programs, where we invite communities either to community halls or to school halls and the like. But also, I must identify that we are assisted to a large extent by various radio stations, and more especially community radio stations, because we are able to speak in the indigenous languages that are spoken in the various communities. And going on further, Chairperson, recommendation number 2, with crime and criminality being established as the major cause of violence against farming communities and farm owners in particular, the Human Rights Commission recommends that law enforcement agencies such as the police and the National Prosecuting Authority step up their involvement in combating these crimes against farming communities. In combating these crimes against farming communities, it has been testified by the police during our national inquiry, in particular, that including farming communities in their comprehensive strategies, is part of their practice. I will not deal with that because the representative of the SAPS has already alluded to that today. I now come to recommendation number 3. The Commission is aware that in certain instances, racist overtones are used during incidents of violence on farms. And further, the Commission agreed with Dr. de Kock in that South Africa in general has a history of racism, and that the use of racial speech during commissions of a crime is not indicative of a racially motivated crime, but rather a symptom of a larger problem. Therefore, the Commission recommends that particular attention is given to race relations in farming communities at the perspective dialogues that are proposed. From time to time, we engage in those dialogues. Recommendation number 3, the Commission recommends that the stereotypes on farming in South Africa be addressed in the overall awareness raising. The increasing role of Black farmers needs to be acknowledged more. The good relations on many farms between farm owners and farm workers are also not sufficiently highlighted. South African society in general still sees farming as separate from daily existence. This stereotype is not valid in our continuing transforming of the society. Currently, Chairperson and members, there are positive examples of joint work between government, organized agriculture, non-governmental organizations. This has resulted in the negotiation of a self-regulatory codes of conduct, together with mechanisms for transparent monitoring and implementation. This is still being observed in 2014, for example, Agri-South Africa's relationship with the police. The Commission recommends that these types of relationships be fostered so that the participation of members of farming communities becomes integral to their own safety. I come to recommendation number 4. Chairperson and members, the Commission is in the opinion that research on safety and security challenges are important and should continue. Additionally, the Commission makes the following recommendations. The Commission recommends that additional research needs to be conducted on the experiences of farm dwellers, farm workers, and farm owners. The research should be aimed to be conducted in a holistic manner, incorporating the experiences of all components that constitute the farming community, and lead to the realization of rights for all aspects of the farming community. We are saying land reform is an integral part of restoring the dignity damaged during the apartheid era. The public needs to be aware of how farming communities interact with each other and how interdependent they are of each other. Additionally, for the nation to have food security, a need to approach the issues holistically is needed. Since the Commission's 2008 Farm Hearing Report that I have indicated to before, there is still no commonly agreed explanation for the recent crime figures. Community participation with government is important in reading the solution. The Commission is available to collaborate with suitable experts to ensure that further research is conducted. Therefore, it is recommended that ARC extend its research into the safety of farms, either by themselves or in partnership with others. It is quite valuable to observe the fuller picture relating to food security for the country. The link between food security and the safety of farming communities needs to be communicated more substantially. The farming communities deserve the respect and appreciation by all South Africans as crucial to our food security. Chairperson and members, as heard during the hearing, the AfriForum is conducting research in the causes of farm attacks and or murders. Therefore, the Commission requests that AfriForum provide a submission on the status of their research into the causes of farm attacks. Therefore, the Commission recommends that Agri-South Africa should continue providing information relating to how lack of safety and security in farming communities impacts on other issues pertaining to human rights. The Commission supports this idea and will therefore assist where necessary. Recommendation number 5, the Commission notes that a standard on the specification of housing being provided to farm workers and farm dwellers does not currently exist. The Commission recommends that DOR-DLR establish the standard in the form of a policy document. The standard needs to be guided by the principles of dignity. Additionally, the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform should further provide a policy brief on the current status on land tenure in the farming communities. I'm coming to recommendation number 6. The Commission recommends to the Department of Justice and Correctional Development the following: the inclusion of farming communities more concretely in the PRVG program. Provide a report on the current and previous programs of the Department of Justice, conduct jointly with the police or any other role players in the farming communities. That the NPA needs to be clear on its presentation on the case against the providing of bail. In the case of the farming communities, the courts seem to be not aware of the circumstances of the farming communities, and this should be brought to the court's attention by the NPA. The court preparation officers need to be better prepared to attend to victim support with specific regard to farming communities. The Commission requests a report from the department highlighting the training which is to be provided to the court preparation officers and the impact of it within 12 months after issuing of the hearing report. An evaluation of the victim's charter appears to be urgent. The Commission therefore recommends that the matter be explored. I'm now come to recommendation number 7. The Commission notes that an inclusive SAPS RSS is integral in reducing crime rates in rural communities. Further, the Commission notes that there are valid arguments in developing different policies on how to deal with further murders and or attacks on farms, violence against farm workers, domestic violence, child abuse, child labor, and so on and so forth. The RSS is a valid and innovative way of dealing with rural safety, but further policies could assist in the better implementation of the RSS, which would lead to the realization of rights in the farming community. For these reasons, the Commission recommends the following: Commission agrees with the intention of the police to the review of the RSS as stated during the hearing that was held by the Human Rights Commission. The Commission requests that it be part of the review process and be provided with the outcome of the review. Additionally, the Commission should be informed of when the national endeavor on the RSS shall be taking place. The Commission proposes that the police considers creating an agricultural forum. This will be in cooperation with all role players and stakeholders. The forum will provide a platform for the farming community to communicate with the role players and the police on how to better police their land. This will allow for the police to be better or to better understand the challenges that are currently facing the farming community. The police should consider hosting the agricultural forum within the dialogues initially proposed. Therefore, the Commission recommends that the police consider conducting a crime threat analysis for farming communities. The police should inform the Commission of the outcome of the deliberations regarding this recommendation. It is in the view of the Commission that such an analysis could be in the farming community as well as the police. It is envisaged that once a crime threat analysis is done, better policing methods can be applied in an attempt to reduce crime. Chairperson, the Commission notes that the police never held farming safety summit as recommended in the earlier Commission's report that I've alluded to. During the police submissions, it was noted that this did not happen as the Farming Communities Forum was never established by civil society, although the police have concerned that a rural safety summit will be taking place in the second quarter of the year 2015 or 2016, and then of the financial year. The Commission would like to participate at this summit. We are interested role players. The Commission acknowledges the steps taken to introduce programming police stations on family violence, domestic abuse, and sexual offenses. The Commission requests the police to provide the steps taken to ensure that such programs are in place at police stations close to farming communities, and more especially during this current pandemic, where there is a lot of gender-based violence, GBVs, as well as the killing of young girls, femicide by their boyfriends. The police are to issue guidelines for visible policing on rural and farming communities. And the Commission acknowledges the challenges that the police had with the commando system. In addition, the Commission acknowledges that the police are under-resourced in the farming communities, and that the implementation of the RSS that is inclusive of and sensitive to the needs of many different facets of the rural communities. And by implication, farming communities is needed urgently. As mentioned in the Commission's 2003 hearing that I started referring to, violent crime in farming communities must be addressed in an inclusive and holistic manner. Chairperson, the Commission recommends that the police are to establish and implement sensitive programs for police officers working with vulnerable groups in rural communities. This may be one of the ways that the police ensure that the realization of rights is achieved. By sensibilizing police officers, community relations could improve, which could lead to better services that is delivered in the farming communities. The Commission further recommends that all police officers be trained in the RSS, as stated in the police presentation at the hearing before the Human Rights Commission. The Commission looks forward to receiving the Frontline Service Delivery Program documents. Again, Chairperson and members, the Commission notes that and agrees with the TAO's recommendation, that is the Transvaal Agricultural Union of South Africa, that the police need to implement effective policies in dealing with stock theft, which includes the appointment of personnel into vacant positions. The Commission requests it be informed of all programs and outcomes on safety in farming communities. This will include or will be included in the Commission's continued discussions with the police. I'm coming now to recommendation number 8. In light of the success of certain community policing forums, the CPFs in farming communities, more should be established to better combat crime within these areas. As the community policing forums are established by the police, they should also be incorporated into crime prevention strategies. Farm watches should be formalized into the CPFs so that a holistic approach to crime prevention can be implemented. Additionally, the Commission recommends that a more formalized relationship be established with the rural safety priority committees, which are currently operating in certain rural areas of our country. Coming to recommendation number 9, the Commission agrees with the NDA's possible strategy to assist in crime prevention is for farm owners to allow government services access to land more frequently, and that by education and uplifting the community, a reduction in violence is anticipated. The strategies to reduce violence in farming communities need to be multi-pronged, which includes an improvement of the attitude towards a human rights-based culture. Politically, there needs to be an encouragement of social cohesion. I now come to recommendation number 10. And we are saying the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, COGTA, is requested to take note of this report. The Commission will provide a copy of the report and is open to communication regarding its contents. The Commission acknowledges and is appreciative of the current programs between the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and the police. The Commission requests that it be kept abreast of the program's progression. Additionally, it is noted that there is need for an evaluation of the program to empower traditional leaders on safety and security in farming communities. Last but one is recommendation number 11. The Department of Labor is requested to take note of this report. The Commission will provide a copy of the report and is open to communication regarding its contents. And finally, recommendation number 12. It is recommended that a special subcommittee be established by the JCPS Cluster Priority Committee to develop an action plan to address the issues raised to engage with the community and also to monitor and evaluate the related activities of the departments. The committee's working procedures need to be referred to the Commission for its consideration and comment. The Commission requests to attend meetings to determine the effectiveness of public awareness campaigns and highlight provided on court processes. Once more, Chairperson, we thank you for inviting the Human Rights Commission to your portfolio committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shamase. Advocate Mdabe, would you like to add anything to the presentation before I open up for questions? Advocate Mdabe. Okay, we seem to have lost your colleague, Commissioner.
I'm here. I didn't quite pick up the question you
I
were breaking
was
up.
checking if you want to make any comments or additions before I open up the floor for questions.
No, I don't want to make any additions. I'm sorted. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much. Honorable members, I now open up the presentations from the MEC's presentation up to the last one for questions of clarities. I want to suggest that we park matters of discussions as we have received majority of these reports today, and we might not be able to make informed recommendations and conclusions since we have not had an opportunity to read or go through these documents. I just want to make that proposal, members, that for now we just ask questions of clarity, and then we'll find space maybe after this meeting to reconvene and further scrutinize these reports and sibone ukuthi how do we take the matters that have been reported to us forward. If that is agreed to, can I take hands for questions? Please just say your name so that I recognize you. Papas, number one. Sidle, Honorable Cele.
Yes, Chair.
Who else?
Fraser.
Fraser.
Duma.
Rajpansi.
Rajpansi. Duma. Okay, on my list I have Papas, Cele, Fraser, Rajpansi, and Duma. Am I missing a member? Any member? And Bonnie next screen some. Okay, honorable members, please, in that order, we'll start with Papas, followed by Cele, Fraser, Rajpansi, and the last person on my list will be Honorable Duma.
Thanks, Chairperson. Chair, thank you very much to yourself, firstly, for facilitating this meeting through the Agricultural Committee, and thank you as well to the MECs and our colleagues from the other committee for being with us today. Thank you as well to all the presentations. I think the information provided, although not received prior, is a lot to consume and I think will help us do our work. Chairperson, I think I have more on resolutions, which we'll cover later. But for clarity in terms of what was presented, firstly is just in terms of question 1 presented by the General. Sorry, it was question 2. The question was, do you have sufficient or adequate functional vehicles to access the crime scenes? The General gave a very politician-like answer. He didn't say yes or no. So if you could just provide some clarity on that, it would be helpful. The comment that I have on stock theft is, I think, it's great to see that it's declined in terms of the numbers produced annually, but I don't think this is a true reflection of what happens on the ground. I think many rural communities have given up reporting things to SAPS when it comes to the theft of animals or the protection of the animals, and perhaps it requires further investigation. The second question I have is then with regards to poaching and particularly dog hunting in farming communities. I get weekly complaints about poaching and dog hunting happening in farming areas, but there seems to be little response or little reliance on SAPS to be able to assist in this regard. So my question is, what is the current status quo around dog poaching or dog hunting in farming areas, and what is being done by SAPS to try and assist where this is a problem? This is a very lucrative business. I mean, some of these animals are worth tens of thousands of rands. And things like trespassing and theft of livestock, I mean, destruction of livestock and destruction of vulnerable species is all occurring, but it doesn't seem like there's a dedicated strategy towards it. My third question is with regards to the border security, in particular around Swaziland and Lesotho. Again, it's something that I get a lot of complaints about with the free movement of animals and people across the border. But obviously, being the rural, the agricultural cluster, my concern is around the free movement of animals, specifically those who may carry diseases or those who may have been that may have been stolen. What is SAPS doing about this, and what more can be done from in terms of law enforcement to be able to support SAPS? Because obviously it's not only their function. Chairperson, I just want to thank the presenters from AFRA and from the Human Rights Commission. I think that it's very important that as lawmakers and as legislators that we have a very broad perspective and intricate knowledge of the details that affect different communities that fall underneath us. I think a lot of the time as legislators and leaders in communities, we spend a lot of time pontificating and a lot of time making noise and trying to grandstand about issues. But all the meantime, the things that are unfolding in the communities around us are not being dealt with. So I want to appreciate the approaches that both these organizations have taken in relation to the communities or the people that they represent. And I think that we need to do more from a government perspective to support the work that they do, but also to find where our own policies and strategies are lacking. And I think I'll cover that when it comes to our time to engage on resolutions. And there's definitely a need for a bigger focus in terms of education and social cohesion with regards to rural safety, specifically around farm workers, farmers, and gender-based violence. And those are things that we need to engage on seriously without evoking emotions that lead us nowhere really, and then leaving the people who are vulnerable on the ground to become victims of the circumstances that we create by making unnecessary noise in the media and other places. But yes, just thank you, Chair, for the session. I think it's been very helpful, and I'd also like to welcome the support that SAPS has given to declare farm incidents a hate crime. So thank you very much for all of that. Thanks, Chair.
Next, Honorable Cela.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. First and foremost, I would like to appreciate you, Chairperson, for putting together this type of a committee for us to be able to engage on such important matters that normally you will not hear people talking about, even in the media or anywhere. It's as if this government is not working, and yet there's so much that's been done, even with a lot of NGOs which are on the ground as well. So we would like to appreciate you kakhulu Tolo. Inkosi nje sigcinele wena siqhubeke sisebenze the way ekusetshenzwa ngayo siyabonga. Chairperson, thank you very much as well to the department for their presentation. We would like to wish them well, Chair, with the strategy that is well put together and well thought of. And you can see that on paper, if we can implement some of the things that are said to be that we are doing on the ground with these reports, you can see that our people's lives will really change. Siyabonga kakhulu with the interventions as well that are said to be happening. But for me, I just need to also maybe get an understanding to say, with all these interventions that are done, especially in Uthugela and Ezemvelo Wildlife, are we seeing the results? Do we have anything that is showing us that we are making an impact? I will forever be talking in particular with Uthugela, because that is where you find the most violent crimes and the most where Othola is gebengu leze iphatha olonke uhlobo lesibhamu that you can think of. So, and it is quite a rural community kakhulu ngalena. MEC knows that I've been asking for quite some time now, in particular in Daweni, to say, what are we doing? Because besides the fact that there's a lot of high cases of gender-based violence, there's a high number of stock theft as well, of the elderly and the young people on the and even Amakosi, Ward 2, Ward 4, Ward 3, they've been even asking for a police station, even if it's satellite one. As I'm saying that, it's nice to read some of these things, but are the police on the ground understanding what needs to be done to be able to assist our communities, in particular in the rural and the farming areas? I see there's another recommendation which was spoken of, I think, by the Human Rights Commission. It's what I was going to ask myself as well, to say, perhaps amaphoyisa ayaqeqeshwa yini to be able to deal with some of these crimes that are perpetuated in the farms and in the zasemakhaya. Chair, Mr. Berger, thank you very much, your organization yenu and the work that you do. One is wishing you all the best, and to say that le committee siyathanda ukuthi uhlale uzosivakashela, because we need to hear some of the good work that you guys are doing on the ground, and what can we do to assist to make sure that the work that you do really has an impact. I know of a story of a young man in Moyo River. They were farm dwellers. Immediately when the father died, and the farm owners to a level which they did not even give them access to ungena kube again. Eventually, what demolition moves with everything inside, and the police did nothing. Hence, it goes back to what I'm saying, Uti. I'm interesting. It's very interesting to hear what the Human Rights Commission has been picking up on the ground, Uti. Our police don't know sometimes how to deal with the matters of a farm dweller versus a farm owner, and until that is addressed, and until farm owners understand the racial connotation of the fact that they own these farms, ezweni labantu abamnyama, AfriForum will do their research as much as they can. If bengakwazi ukuphatha kahle abantu abamnyama ezindaweni zabo, there will forever be violence, there will forever be grievances, there will forever. If you still have a farmer ekwazi ukuthi mangabe imfuyo yomuntu ingene phakathi efarm, adubula athatha ayibulale lezo zilwane noma aziconfiscate azenze zakhe, and amaphoyisa do nothing to assist umnikazi waleyo mfuyo those kind of matters are the ones ezenza ukuthi kube kuhlale kunohlevane between abantu abamnyama nabelungu who own some of these farms, because now the way they behave towards communities benza bangabi able to be protected. I can tell you now that you will find good farmers, farm owners who treat their workers fairly, who deal with communities as our neighbors are. Those farmers will never be attacked. Those farmers won't have aggression towards them by communities. They'll be protected, in fact, by our communities. So I did hear that we must form some stakeholder engagements and try and assist in the matters of race and whatnot. Until there's nothing much that you can do when it comes to racism and the superiority of some people. Which they are the ones superior when it comes to the race matters. So, Commissioner Sibanyoni, thank you very much for your report. One would like to really look at those recommendations and see USABS. Our implementing impela lama recommendations, they are really going to assist us, even though ama recommendations that were coming from Transvaal, but you can see these recommendations actually assist Noma Igepi, because farm owners and dwellers, ama relations are issues between them. But thank you very much for your time. Continue with the work that you do. One would like to receive these recommendations, swabuke, and see how they are implemented. I like CPF to say that if we can actually send a show, CPF is made to assist to bridge the gap between the communities and the police and the criminals. Dealing with issues of crime, but futhi ebuhlungu yenze kube abantu be-CPF baphelelwe nawo uthando. Kuthi mase kufanele kuqashwe emaphoyiseni. These are the very people that amaphoyisa ngabathathi even to be reservers, but police reservers, yes. Abathathi even some of these people who were working on the ground with amaphoyisa as CPF members. So if we can makusetshenzwa sibambisane that way, then ama communities ethu azosithatha serious abone ukuthi ngoba basuke giving their time anyway abantu be-CPF abanye abakhokhelwa ngisho ukukhokhelwa, but when opportunities come we don't even consider them, and yet yibo who would know ukuthi kusetshenzwa kanjani lana izigebengu zikuphi, how do you deal with them. They have all the information in the areas, but sibuye singabathathi serious kakhulu. I do support nale subcommittee to be established. Ama subcommittees wonke lawa and these programs that must be implemented, I fully support them. But as the chair has said, we are waiting for actual documents so that we can reread it ourselves. And chair, if we can have a standing committee like this, maybe once every quarter year, achieve a chair, what we speak about actually does happen on the ground. I thank you.
Honorable Fraser.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to everybody who's in the meeting. Siyabonga Sihlalo for all presentations presented to us. Sihlalo, let me start by thanking Umpemba, MEC. I know that he had a meeting with Nkosi Umazbugo discussing issues zase-Loskop. Siyabonga kakhulu Umpemba. We appreciate that. Then the second one is Sihlalo, with presentation ka General Jula no Brigadier Keswa. Albongwe Mam Keswa. There's a lot of things that needed us to discuss, but unfortunately the chair advised that we'll have time for that. But the first one, we will not be doing justice if we don't tell the department what they did is not acceptable. You can't prepare for a meeting and don't send documents and expect the meeting to be fruitful. Unfortunately, it's not acceptable. So we hope that next time they'll do better. In fact, I understand with other presentations, but AMASAPs, they know what's the procedure. So we are very much not happy about that, Slalo. Then again, Honorable Papas made mention ukuthi General Jula did not give a response of yes or no in terms of rural stations being resourced. I was also patiently waiting because I know it for a fact that they are not. Because we are not going to discuss it today, but I want them to take it back home. That's when I was doing my constituency work in Tukela or Kahlamba. I've noticed that in Tabamhlophe police station is very much under-resourced in terms of physical and physical resources ne personnel yakhona. But again, what is more important for now, Slalo, it's to raise the issue that police station is not addressing the needs of the community. It's too far. It was made during apartheid era, and I think it's my 11th year now mentioning the same thing, that police station is not assisting us as the community in Tabamhlophe. So, Slalo, I therefore recommend that when they go back home to their stations, they revisit the issue of Tabamhlophe being there, because it is not doing what is expected to do, unless if they will be saying to me it's for certain individuals who stays next to it, then that's another story. But for now, it is not assisting the community. That one must be known. Same thing coming to Loskop. Loskop is too wide. We appreciate the fact that there is Loskop police station and it's within communities, but it doesn't assist if you are talking about people who are staying next to Eqweni, all those areas. It's not assisting them. And Umpemba will agree with me with those areas where a police station is far, that's where they kill each other like nobody's business, because they know that it's not easy to access ingalo yomthetho. So I'm appealing to you, General Jula, that in your term, maybe this is one of the things where you will say, I've done this for the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Slalo ngidlule presentations by UAFRA. The unfortunate part here, Slalo, is we all know about farm brutality. Ukuthi nje asifuni ukuyikhuluma angazi kanjani. We know it for a fact ukuthi farm dwellers are mistreated. They are treated like animals. Nobody cares. And they go to police stations and open cases. And instead of them being assisted, they get neglected. And the unfortunate part is it's the SAPs who are supposed to be protecting these farm dwellers. And one can be happy that it has been identified as hate crimes. Of course, it comes from hatred. I come to you to the police station, I present my case, the next thing you side with the perpetrator. I don't want to say SAPs are contributing towards, because that will be an unfair statement, because in SAPs you do get men in blue who works very hard to ensure that there's peace and stability. So we therefore appeal to you, SAPs, that you treat the farm dwellers as human beings. If they come and report a case, that case must be taken at the very spirit as the one of the farm owner who comes to lay a charge against the dwellers. If everything can be done fairly in police stations, You will be surprised. Again, I'm looking at the fact that ama cases that are reported by ama farm dwellers, they don't get feedback. If I may ask why are they not getting the feedback? That's my question. Slalo, I also wanted to say, because we are in this platform and SAPS is here, the gender-based violence cases, it's the same story. If there's no one who will go after that case, you will find that the victims become even more victims in the hands of SAPS. So we understand that after they've done their work, they take them to justice. But the least they can do is to ensure that when they visit their police stations, they are treated with dignity. And through the safety portfolio committee chair, can I ask the SAPS to give us a report on all opened cases by dwellers and the program report? That is the first one. The report on open cases by farm dwellers and the progress.
That one for our resolutions, Honorable Member.
Okay, Chair. It will go. Okay, let me leave this one again then, if that is the case, so it's at that level. Another one where I'm a bit concerned, Chair, it's the functionality of the forums. General Jula, we appreciate the fact that you have systems in order, but you are more worried about their functionality. Are they serving the communities that are supposed to serve, or they are just there as in writing, they are not functional? If you can clarify me on that, because we do oversight. We go to constituencies and we get the information on these issues. Ngoba sihlalo uthe we are not discussing. For now, let me stop there. Thank you very much. The commission, thank you very much for your introduction. We are Africans, so ngaso sonke isikhathi siyajabule nokuzithakazelo. Kuyasifundisa kakhulu futhi kuyasikhulisa. Once more, thank you very much to all the presenters. The presentations were clear and straight to the point. Siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Fraser Gananda. Honorable Rajpansi. Honorable Rajpansi.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me start by appreciating SAPS, for all that they do. They are frontline staff. They do take a lot of risks, and I appreciate their report and tried to do the best we could, having received it basically, just on the video system. But I want to start with the MEC's comments. Honorable MEC, sitting in this committee, you have to also think as MPs when we're dealing with so many other safety and security issues, the the juxtaposing between urban crime issues and then the rural ones. And I think if we look at it sort of holistically, we can say that SAPS is trying their best. But Honorable MEC, a few things about your comments. One is that I really believe that you all know how important agriculture is to our economy. For that reason, more thought has to be given into the business plan for your department. because you've given the reasons for the shortages. You've spoken about a lack of prosecutors, but that's, of course, for the Justice Department. The shortages of manpower, the motor vehicles with respect to the terrain. You're also the MEC of Transport, so somewhere along the line, you know, a report on road, on development of the roads in the rural area, to see how, you know, that can lessen the impact then on vehicle needs, because all these are interlinked. The other is on the Memorandum of Understanding, and I really welcome that, because the way I look at agriculture and the violence that goes on in the rural areas is that it's a question of competition and survival. And therefore, you get a lot of criminal activity taking place because it's of an economic nature. But of course, Memorandum of Understanding will then move to our strategy of cooperation, which is very important. But in that Memorandum of Understanding and the strategy, what I'd like to see, because of the problems that are being identified, is the duties and the roles and responsibilities of the stakeholders and a very good communication plan. Because of the isolated patterning in the rural areas and their spatial development that we still need to get right. So we need to have this very good communication plan. And with respect to General Jula, I want to thank him for his report. The first thing that I think is very critical is you've spoken about rural safety and awareness at a station level, but I believe that we need to get into another gear and we need to see how to move that to a community level where it really matters. And of course, maybe you can innovatively use your volunteers. I think there's a role for the expanded public works program in this department and the usage of volunteers to bring about this safety in the community. In terms of the Rural Safety Summit, I just wanted to know when this will take place and whether it's not possible, maybe because of COVID-19, to take place via a webinar. In terms of the farmer murders being classified as a hate crime, I think if I heard you correctly, you said that there will be specific classifications where it's hate crime, because it will depend on the brutal nature of some of the crimes. And I do agree with you, because that then means that it'll have to be verifiable by thorough investigation to be classified as such, because that is, you know, sort of more quality that you add, especially for researchers, etc., into crimes, because not just all crimes can be classified as that. We can't generalize. In terms of psychological services, I think that this is very important, because when a crime occurs, a rural crime, like any other crime, a lot of people become victims, and the psychological impact on that is grave, and it's different for different age groups of people that are involved in this. And I think that that's very important, but I think Afra also spoke about it, and we'll come to that. The next thing is the rural infrastructure deficiencies, and I agree with you. But there, of course, you need to get so many other departments, because Spluma, I think Spatial Development Act becomes very important to be coordinated in some sort of way. And then again, as I said, the status of rural roads, but COGTA, ETIA, agriculture, all become important to work with SAPS for this. And then I wanted to also know, General, whether you are looking at having a because maybe we could do with some social cohesion programs like we do in the urban areas. In terms of Brigadier Keswa, I want to congratulate her as a woman to be a project manager. But I think as chair, as a resolution, more, you know, with the 8 pillars of rural safety, we need a sort of a tabulated form, maybe on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, of these different types of stock theft, etc. Because I think stats is very important for us to map trends.
Hold
as a
that
committee.
one. If that is your recommendation for our resolutions,
Yeah.
please, hold it
But then I go to
for the right
AFRA
moment.
chairperson. Thank you, Chair. I go to AFRA chairperson. I think that it's important to know that the NGO exists right in Pietermaritzburg, but I see that from their report, it looked like they were working a lot in the Umgungundlovu area. I think that for us, we need to maybe know more about the NGO, how it's funded by whom, and the type of work they do. But maybe, Honorable Chair, at another meeting or maybe a visit to the organization will be very helpful, because it looks like they do go on visits, say, with the Human Rights Commission. So we would need to engage with them more. In terms of the report by the South African Human Rights Commission and to Mr. Savinioni, I want to thank him, but I think that he captured all those 12 resolutions towards the end with resolution 7 and then 12, where he has indicated to us, Honorable Chair, that we need to take a good look at the RSS document. And this strategy document, I think, is very important. But I leave it because I think that's another thing I want to make as a resolution, Chair, of how we're going to also adopt and monitor this document. So I leave it for a resolution stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rajpansi. The next speaker is Honorable Duma.
Thank you so much, Chair, for affording us this opportunity. Let us greet both Honorable MECs, Sithole Moloi, Majobe, and Mpemba Ukasompisi. Let us also greet you, Chair, with your collective. Let us also greet both HODs, Babu Sibandi Ugoje, greet Babu Kumbi, Somkanda. Siyabonga for affording us this chance, Chair. This is a very strategic and a dynamic meeting. Let us first acknowledge the role that has been played by the women in our country, in the history of Africa and the continent at large. I think it is critical at this point in time. Let us wish them the great opportune time to be presented in them. We also note as well, in a very perverted way, when you come as a group of 10 and one is a female and you think you will be happy with that. When we talk about transformation, it must be holistic, it must be dynamic, it must come with proper equipment and proponent that is due as well in the platform. So we think this month will be critical, but it will elongate. Angiprotect phela manje sihlala manje kwafuna amaphilisi masekhuluma mina engathi kumuntu omumbi. Chairman, may I proceed?
Proceed. My apologies. Honorable.
No, thank you so much. So,
Khona ungafuni Duma khuluma isihlalo ngiyasola ngathi khona ungafuni.
I was
Ngicela ungayingeni le ndaba yabo.
I was still highlighting that, Chair, that it is critical that as individual members as well in this committee, it is also critical that as well in our little corners, I must be able to say that as Boniso Duma, I will never prejudice, I will never abuse any women in South Africa, but I will always protect, I will always ensure that I advance the development strategy so that at some point in time, there is a proper transformation that is taking place. I think it is critical. We wish 2020. Yeah, we do wish a prosperous year as well. I think a Women's Month for us, it must be garnering a proper support. Chair, I've got few issues. I'm sure Usomkanda, Mpemba, Nubabujula, bayawezwa ama sentiment that are strategic coming from members. But we must acknowledge the act as well. Bangacabanga ukuthi mase bephuma meeting ukuthi asi understand as well the jurisdiction ukuthi Usomkanda noma ngabe uyathanda akanayo ipower yanele when it comes to subs. Babujula noma uJola noma ekuthiwa accounting officer kodwa konke esidinga from national. I think at this point in time fanele sibalulise in ensuring ukuthi siyabalekelela ekutheni ifunding indlela esistructure sengayo for SAPS must be addressing all the issues. When it comes to capacity, SARS, ratio in the 60 million population, you'll understand. KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Mapoyisa nje are less than 40,000 combined. That tells you ukuthi abazokwazi ukulekelela abantu abawu-11 million ngoba vele ba-depleted in terms of the resource. And you must balance the equation, whether you want to issue an advanced issue of infrastructure, or you are saying that in terms of symbols and in terms of machinery being members who add lapho, those are the issues and dynamics ekufanele uMphemba meya kumele meya kahambe ne-blessing yethu ukuthi siyasunderstand isimo abaphila naso. KwaZulu-Natal ne-history yayo ke inawo ama-issues like all other provinces ekufanele sidile nawo. Mina Chair ngifisa ukuqala nje ngokuthi mhlambe sicite 3 cases esifisa ukuthi ke uphoyisa nobuholi bakhona budile nawo. I-issue kaNomandeni case uGeneral Jula ngicabanga ukuthi seyificile wayibona. Nothing has been done. Farm dwellers for years who've been persecuted by the system and they've been reporting consistently. What happens? Nomandeni say Newcastle. Mpemba will give you all our details.
Mpemba, I will give you opportunity to respond or ask for clarities.
Yeah, Nomandeni is found in Newcastle, Honorable Chairperson, and for years, by a reporter, what is worse, if they report a police station, instead ukuthi abe protected ugcine persecutor noma ingane yakhe kuthiwa ihlale eplazini einkomo zakhona kade zikhona bagcine beshawa and ingenzeki lutho. Yile issues esifisa ukuthi wona akathathwe into cognizance kuyekudile nawo accordingly. Siyofisa uGeneral Jula akasibuye nama details. There is a matter of Peter Watt, a dairy farmer in Moy River. Kwabakhona ne-issue eshayiwe i-tenant yakhona bahamba bayo-report. A white warrant officer went to the farm, waqala kumnikazi we-farm, mesefika sethola isitori sakhe kade kureport omunye umuntu wasehamba uyobopha amanye ama-tenants angaphakathi khona. Till today ifama ayikaze yenziwe lutho, nothing, not even a statement. And siyafisa-ke uGeneral no-MEC bawalandela ama-such issues because iwona la azoloke esiperpetuatela into is unnecessary. And South Africa is a country that is critical in ensuring that we do really create equilibrium ne-rainbow nation. Asifisi ukuthi lo onamandla kakhulu agcine ba-protected. So is the issue of stock theft. Unkosazana leyo njengamanje uhamba icala wase-Eastern Cape me-trade le y'nkomo bekade ezihambisa lapha ka-AAM Lowndes River for years, uhambisa iy'nkomo kwi-agent. Uma seboshwa yini eyenza ukuthi uJamludi ahambe scotch free yena? Kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi ungafika registered auction, registered agent uhambisa iy'nkomo zabanye abantu ezingekho branded kodwa sicabanga ukuthi lokho is gonna be normal? Those are the issues esifisa uSAPS kulamandla abanawo bayilekelele in ensuring ukuthi iyalifteka iprocess yakhona khona isimo sakhona sizokwazi ukuthi sihambe. Lisekhona-ke nakhona-ke sihlalo uGeneral i-issue yasemngeni farm idwela le kwasekumesekushonile benendawo benesinqumo esaziwayo kahle wabakhipha wazobambela ngisho amathuna u-owner lapho and nothing has been done. Those are the issues esicabanga ukuthi kuzoba lula ukuthi uSAPS mewalandela kuthatha ama-resolution kuzoba nesithunzi kungabe ngathi udila ne-issue yomuntu osuke isikhondla khondla. Sicabanga ukuthi-ke sihlalo-ke ngifisa ukuthi sibonge i-issue ye-Human Rights Commission ngokuthi kwazile ukuthi iphatheke kodwa ibona abantu aba-strategic uncovering i-spectrum se-media in particular bangawalandela all these cases. Singaboni nakhona-ke ngathi-ke kunabantu abathile abawudawo balibhekayo ama-tenant olunye bangakwazi ukuthi kulibheke. Ngaleyo ndlela bazoba ne-role esuke izokwazi ukuthi isenzele umehluko in the society. Lastly, Chair, I think asibonge nje ngomsebenzi owenzile ukuthi sibe na such gathering. It's a pity at this point in time we are meeting virtually. Amanye ama-issues, as you know, when they are recorded in this platform, ngeke ukwazi kwa-elevator to the T. Kungcono mekuthiwa abantu wabhekile but siyafisa ukuthi aqhubeke alandeleleke so that was when I talk about that ngifisa chair guess wahambele amanye ama-police stations uDlaba Cape Town referring to the issue of floor scope. Practically let us go unama police station amancane KwaZulu-Natal kodwa uthola ukuthi une-police station ephakathi in the farm othola ukuthi ayiwenzi umsebenzi kahle kahle ukuthi i-relocation ne-strategy to enhance even the little resources abanawo ngabe bayawasebenzisa uma kuthiwa sebewabonile ku-general siyafisa ukuthi sike sizambele iy'ndawo ey'thile so that amaphoyisa ezoba namandla aphinde akwazi. Ngifisa ukuthi hlale kule phuzu lokugcina ukuthi le issue eyona is a thorn ukuthi i-issue ye-stock theft KwaZulu-Natal nje uma sekuthiwa umphembo uzona bayaziwa abantu abantshontsha iy'nkomo and they have been reported kodwa ayikho into oyibonayo yenzekala. We are not sure whether i-issue isemandleni ka-SAPS uyababopha yena mhlawumbe i-judiciary igcine ingazange ziwalandelele nama-issues. Siyafisa nakhona ukuthi singagcini nje siba nenkinga efanayo because izo-affecteka i-food production in the province of KwaZulu-Natal because ey'nkomeni eziningi onazo iy'nkomo are found in emerging and communal farming. Lezo zinkomo because they are not protected abanayo nama-fencing. If kuzoqhubeka kube khona i-stock theft kusho ukuthi iyoba nengxaki kakhulu i-process yenziwa i-department yokuzama uku-empowerisha ama-farmers. Zonke-ke lezo zimo siyafisa ukuzibona zishintsha zikwazi ukusebenzeka. Lastly chair, I think kubalulekile ukuthi siwubonge umhlangano indlela ostructurishe ngayo noma udonsile kodwa sicabanga ukuthi bekade khona i-need yakhona chair kakhulu esiyinothayo nathi. Ngeke ngisangena kakhulu ekuthweleni ama-document late. It's painful, it must not happen and kufanele sizame ukuthi si-avoid so that when we engage correctly chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Duma. You were the last speaker on my list. MEC, I'm now handing over to your team for responses before I give to our guests.
Thank you very much.
You will deploy accordingly. You don't have to start.
Thank you very much. The first and foremost, I do need to apologize profusely for the submission of documents late. I've been serving in the committee and I know how bad it is not to get documents in time, and that the debate is being hindered. If you have not, it is not out of disrespect. I can commit that we will try and submit them in time, both from SAPS and the department.
Just for clarity, MEC, we did receive the report from the department on time. It's only the SAPS reports that came in today in the morning.
Yeah, no, we will make sure with Ujul, I'm sure, because he's listening, we'll make sure it doesn't really happen again. And I guess all the points that have been raised by honorable members were points that were pointing us to the direction where a working togetherness is being wished by honorable members. And really all that has been said was umphako kumele sikwazi ukuzibheka sizicorrect ezinye zezinto. But I would allow HOD first to make some responses that is necessary, and then General Chula to follow on some of the things. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, and don't be tempted, HOD and Commissioner, to get into deep discussions, as a committee still has to discuss this issue and come up with a resolution on a number of issues that the members raised in their questions. Just give clarifications when necessary.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson, honorable members. On behalf of the Department of Community Safety and Liaison, we just want to welcome, Chair, the inputs that have been provided by the honorable members. Indeed, it's our intention to make sure that all the plans in terms of the program of action that we have put in place are indeed implemented during the current financial year. We have also noted the inputs around the functionality of the CPF, especially in making sure that the involvement of agricultural sectors is taken on board. I think that is the issue, Chair, that will be able to accommodate in our program. But based on some of the recommendations that were shared by the Commission, we look forward to receive those so that we can be able to build into our program of action, Honorable Chairperson. I think those are the only comments that one wanted to make. Thank you.
Okay, General Chula.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, the
We
honorable
start
members
with
and the
Brigadier
MEC.
Keswa.
The questions that... Oh, okay. Forgot that it's the Women's Month. I'm going to be allowing Brigadier Keswa to respond to some of the questions.
She's a leader in the sector.
Own right.
Nango September, she will still be leading, not only in August, General Chula.
Ayindaba management yami bakithi.
Brigadier.
Honorable Chairperson, ngibonge kakhulu, Honorable Chairperson. My humblest apologies in respect of the document. Abaseloskope sebengishaya kakhulu kanje phangweni ekhaya kodwa ngixolise. Taking the information with regards to how court Sungsha Fraser ngizalo bamam Fraser ngizalo mastride dom lapha elokuze phangweni kulungile kodwa.
Kufanele ngabe kade ke wayilungisa ngoba vele yasephangweni leyaseloskope.
Yes, Sihlalo. Yes, uyasibukelela nje.
Sihlalo ngiphuma la Sihlalo sengijima ngiyakhona ngizolala namhlanje.
Okay.
Taking Chairperson and then taking the information from Honorable Papas with regards to the issue of stock theft in respect of cases that are reported but not showing the true picture, because people have been so despondent that they don't feel like they want to report anymore. We have had, our project has given us an insight in respect of the actual accuracy of reporting. We know very well that there are commercial farmers, there are domesticated farmers which are like myself, which have 1 cow, 1 goat. In the commercial environment, we have engaged intensively with during our priority committee with all our stakeholders, especially Kwanalo, which are very much active in our group, also with wildlife as well as AfriForum or Agri-SA, that indicates that indeed there are some of the cases that are not reported. We have also seen it whenever we conduct our operations where we find stock, but when we find the marked stock and we check with the cases, we find that there is no report, they have not reported, which is always encouraged during our recoveries, that prior for one to acquire your stock, you need to open up a case. Therefore, we also engage with our CPF structures, especially in the Tugela cluster, Mr. Nduli, who is the chairperson that side, to indicate to him that they really need to open up cases and encourage the community. We've also got substructures of the CPF as well as our youth desk that are communicated with during our priority committee to encourage our community to report. In those cases, we are making headways, and we are monitoring it on a daily basis. And we are also communicating with our communication officers to indicate to them that we need to encourage the community that they need to report. Chair, the issue of chasing of our complainants out of the police station, this is unacceptable. There's an instruction that was issued by our nation, including ourselves, that all district or then cluster commander and the station commander and the visible policing commander, they need to be able, should there be a question or information that the case was not, a complainant was chased away, then a departmental investigation is instituted, Chair. The issue of dog hunting, I'm safe to say, iLembe cluster, with our analysis and our communication with our stakeholders, this incident, I know of number of them that happened. One of them, it happened Umvoti to Tinlimena, where there was an illegal hunting in respect of the dogs. Another one happened in the Upper Tongat, up to Umhlali. iLembe is prevalent with these cases. This was identified back as 4 months ago. The then cluster commander, who was Brigadier Zondi, and now the District Commissioner Major General Ngabela, have been engaged. The following taskings have been given to them in no uncertain terms. One, intelligence-driven operation, which means intelligence need to gather information for us to say, is it a syndicated or organized crime in respect of this? Where is the market? Where is who are the suspects? Can we link the suspect with DNA if there's any DNA? And then thereafter, we need to effect arrest. Chair, we need to arrest after we have investigated, not arrest before investigation, because we might find ourselves that the courts will throw the case out. But however, in our priority committee, we've got prosecutors that are sitting there, and they're always advising us on prosecutorial guided investigation, which ensures, if I indicated earlier on, with the 80% success on conviction, we have seen the turnaround there. We are monitoring the issue of iLembe cluster. We don't want it to go further than iLembe in respect of the dog hunting. I always say to my team, an animal, it's our own bank balance at home, because we don't go to the bank, but it's the bank that is in our houses. So we need to protect it. The issue of involvement of the border movement, free movement, yes. I think my general will allude to that or will discuss that matter. And the issue of vehicles at the stations in respect of resourcing them, we will be able, I think with General, we were discussing it earlier, to say what is our numbers. But deployment, what is our numbers in respect of vehicles that are responding to complaints? What is our numbers in respect to crime prevention vehicles, as well as the detectives? But holistically, we've got 62 rural stations and 92 rural-urban mixed stations. And then if you look at that 62, we've got different categories of stations. We've got captain stations, we've got lieutenant colonel stations, we've got colonel stations. And those colonel stations, the allocation is based on their criteria, which was set out in terms of human resource needs and human resource capacity, as well as physical resources. When it comes to Honorable Cele, we have taken note the issue of the involvement of Amakosi. That is why the National Commission is having the traditional policing strategy, which is going to be implemented in the KwaZulu-Natal. We are busy with our administration thereof, and the importance of involving Amakosi njengomuntu ogada endlunkulu, who is the responsible, whom the Ingonyama, it's her responsibility. We know that in the province, we are looking at utilization of Amakhosi, and then we have several engagements with them. And we also have attended to our traditional councils in order to understand the magnitude of the problem and also give them guidance in respect of how policing interventions are applied. In respect of the crimes code, that to say the farm murders as well as the farm attacks as well as attempted murders within the farming community, there is a new crime code that will give us a distinguished identification of to say, where did this happen? Is it increasing or is it decreasing? We're not going to take it as a normal murder. It's all murders. Every person in this country, chairperson, especially when it comes to victims, be it it's an owner or be it it's a dweller, it can never be distinguished or can never be differentiated because a victim is a victim, and then it must be provided with the victim support as it's indicated or shown in our policies and legislation. The hiring of the CPF, there has been a turnaround strategy in respect of engaging with the community structures, especially with our youth as well as our CPF structures in respect of recruitment. So they are involved in that. They also sit in our recruitment drives, and they also sit in our interview panels and also selection processes. So we are utilizing them. Unfortunately, we cannot say that there hasn't been a gap there. We will be addressing it, taking to note what just happened to them. Honorable Fraser. Oh, yeah, I've taken note, especially issue of Untaba Mhlophe. We will be looking at it. The issue of LOSCOP, we will be engaging. I think that is not within my competency, but it's within the competency of the provincial commissioner in his management, as to say we need to be doing feasibility studies as to where is the accurate place to place the police station. And we need to be engaging with public works, and we need to be engaged with supply chain management. The process is not going to happen overnight. We will be looking at it, but it is not within my mandate, but the provincial commissioner will be looking at it, and then he will be able to give further guidance and advice to his team as to what to do. The issue of treatment of victims with dignity, yes, the victim support, it is imperative within the organization. The victim support, that's why we have VFRs, we have seasonal police officials that have been trained. And if you look at that, we are currently distinguishing or categorizing them into different aspects. One, in terms of the victim-friendly facility, we're looking at training of victim empowerment, sexual offences, domestic violence, all inclusive of the GBV. And we are monitoring it with civilian secretariat, especially Ubab Mngai as well as Ubab Goniwe. We are very strict about it. If there is a non-compliance in terms of the toolkit that was set or standards that were set out by national, we call the district commander as well as the station commander, including the coordinators. And I have been involved where I have moved members and we have charged a certain member in one of the stations in Newton because there was information in respect of them not in compliance. So the seriousness thereof, it is always noted and taken into account. Cases of reported by farm dwellers not receiving feedback, we will appreciate that we will be contacting the relevant station and then all the stations and requesting all cases and check how far is the investigation and the progress thereof. The GBV I've just articulated to that right now. Reported cases are opened by farm dwellers and also progress that have been discussed earlier on.
the functionality of the forums that they are serving, the community. I spoke to the CPF. There is a criteria that is set out, and then we've got a provincial community police board that is chaired by our chairperson, Mr. Matenjwa, who is the provincial chairperson. And I'm part of that with the 6 executive officials of the SAPS as 2 executive members of the Office of the ComSafety, Mr. Konewe and Mrs. Tobile Dumagute. We are having programs that we're running as a province, and we are also having our monthly meeting and quarterly meetings where people account in terms of what they are doing within their spheres of operation. Member Rasbansi, in respect of the rural safety and awareness at stations and the utilization of volunteers, we have taken note of that. In respect of the summit, yes, we are in the 4th industrial revolution where it talks to webinars. Because of the COVID-19, we cannot expose our people. We must always make our people feel safe. So we will look into that, how we're going to structure. But a summit cannot be a summit for a summit. We need to be able to bring all the integrated teams and be able to, once we have integrated teams, whatever the findings, and then we need to operationalize it or implement them and make it a provincial document. We cannot make a SAPS document. It must be everybody's document that must apply. But it takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of, we need to still be identifying relevant stakeholders that will play in a role. The social cohesion programs, we also noted that. The 8 pillars in respect of rural safety stats to be provided. In our priority committee, stats are provided. Our response in regards to our successes, we do have it. How you structure it, Honorable Committee, we will be abiding by it. Honorable Duma, Gyabonga Baba, go acknowledge oh mama, and also committing yourself not to be an abuser, but to be a person who is going to be a pillar of our strength. The issue of the Normandine. Sorry, ma'am.
No, proceed.
All right. The issue of Normandine, we will be then contacting the station commissioner. We've already sent out a WhatsApp now, but we will be contacting them because we want to know what is happening with that case. The issue of Peter Ward in Moy River, the dairy farm, we'll also be looking into that. The Lions River, Umgeni farm, the exhumation of gravesite, and we'll also be looking into that. And then, Chair, I will then also hand over to my boss because under no circumstances I can take over. I am guided in terms of our protocol by my chief and my director and who is Lieutenant General July. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brigadier Keswa. General Chula. Bongelo Mthombeni ngama-features.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, all the honorable members, the MEC, and all protocol observed. Thank you so much for allowing the women to lead this engagement. I think that Brigadier Keswa has responded to almost all the questions. All that I can just do is just to add, not on a lot of issues, but on just 1 or 2 issues. Firstly, I want to add on the issue or concern which is being raised regarding the farm dwellers who are not receiving their feedback on cases that they open. All that I want to commit to do is that I'm going to be following up on this. I'm going to be requesting.
We are going to take a resolution on that one, Babu Chula. You don't have to respond to it. We will give you specific reports that we've received as a committee so that you respond to those. You don't generalize.
Okay. The other one, that my response to concern number 2, that question whether there's adequate and functional vehicles to access crime scenes. I want to assure the committee that there was no intention to withhold any information in terms of my response. It's just that when we formulated the response, we may have focused more on access as a key word, and we could perhaps also have focused on the question of adequacy as part of our response. So when we made mention of the vehicles that are 4x4s and the 2x4s that are being deployed in the rural areas, we were addressing more the question of ensuring that there are resources that make it possible for us to access certain areas that are difficult to travel on. So that was the reason why we formulated the question, the response in this manner. But other than that, what I would want to say is that in all stations, in terms of our fixed establishment, what is considered, as Brigadier Keso has already alluded, it's the question of the size of the station, also the volume of crime that is being reported in each station, also the population of that particular policing precinct. Now, these are the issues that are then considered in terms of how many vehicles need to be deployed in each station. But I can just say that in this station, in this province, in terms of the actuals, we have a total of 22,960 members in terms of our actual figures in this province. And these members are divided into 4,000, broken down into 4,194 Public Service Act members and 18,766 Police Act members who are in this province, and a total of 5,860 vehicles. So then there will be deployments that are going to be in each station as part of day-to-day deployments. But then on an ongoing basis, through the analysis and the monitoring that we are conducting and the performance review sessions that we conduct from time to time, we will then be informed whether we need to step up in any particular area which could not be coping with the means that are available at its disposal. It is then based on such observations that we will then always make decisions to sometimes put interventions in specific areas to deal with the crime patterns that could be developing at a given point in time. But we cannot really say that our vehicles and the availability of our vehicles is so adequate that we don't have shortages at all. We do have shortages, and there are shortages in almost every station in this province. So there was no intention to withhold any information in terms of our response to concern number 2. That is all that I needed to respond to, Madam Chair.
Thank you, General Chula. MSC, do you want to make concluding remarks?
No, thank you very much, Chair. Once again, I really appreciated the time given to me and the team, and I really appreciate that you have given us time to come and make a presentation. And I know it should not be the first and the last time. We will be expected to come and report, as it were, and we really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable MSC. Honorable members, I think we can pause this discussion here. Oh, no. We still have AFRA and Human Resource Commission. My apologies. Nompumelelo, do you want to make any comments? I know there were no direct questions that were raised for.
Ngicela niphathe kahle umhlangano kaSihlalo.
Human Resource Commission.
Human Rights Commission, sorry. I'm being distracted by Umpemba and Mtombeni.
Shall we, the team be
AFRA, Nompumelelo? Do you want to make any comments, Mama?
Thank you. As you have said, there weren't any direct questions directed to AFRA. However, we'd just like to indicate that AFRA's work is around assisting farm dwellers to access to tenure, security and basic services. Due to work within the Umgungundlovu district. However, we look forward to the visits as suggested by Honorable Cele, where we will unpack more around our work as well as the support that we might need so that our work would have an impact. And currently our funders are the Bread for the World, RED Foundation, Commonwealth Foundation, and I would finally like to also support the suggestion made by Honorable Papas around education and social cohesion, because I think it's a critical point or a critical starting point, and we once again would like to thank the committee.
I hope we have not lost you, Nompumelelo. Were you done with your comments?
Yes, apologies
Okay.
if there were times where I was inaudible.
All right, thank you. Baba Sibanyoni Shamase.
Thank you, Chairperson. May I give this to our research assistant? They do a valuable job. And then just a comment from him. Chairperson, I forget to ask you whether I know the Sibidla who was at Parliament, and then if that is the case, then I should have declared that I know you, Chairperson. Thank you very much. But my research assistant would like to make just a brief comment. Thank you.
I wanted to keep that private. Okay, Shamas. Baba Umtabe.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment about our resolution in terms our recommendations, right, in relation to some relationship between the safety of people who are living in rural communities and the access to basic services. I'm not sure if we are aware that there was a judgment in Pietermaritzburg a while ago, maybe not a while ago, I think in 2018, where it was said that there is a duty on the state, and I suppose this duty is on municipalities, but also I suppose to a certain extent on the national and as well as the provincial spheres of government to provide basic services to people who are living in rural areas. And I suppose that relationship between safety and the provision of basic services and some contributions that were made by Mrs. Rajbanti on how Spluma can assist us to ensure that there's some form of modest development in the rural areas, so that we provide some form of I suppose substantive transformation going forward. And so I just wanted to highlight the importance of government instituting or maybe kick-starting transformation. By transformation, I mean development transformation in the rural areas, as opposed to talking about race and racism as some form of transformation along color lines. So I think we should be focusing more on the socio-economic transformation, which I think is substantive. And there's already a huge reservoir in our case law to suggest that there's no need for government, whether at provincial or national level of government, also municipal level, to not kickstart development, especially when it is already said that private owners of land, their rights are not limited by law by providing basic services that are needed by people living in rural areas. So I just wanted to throw that out as part of our recommendation, because I think that's a critical part of ensuring that there's substantive transformation as opposed to transformation along color lines. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Advocate Mtabe, for that valuable contribution. Honorable members, I think we can pause here for today, with an understanding, of course, that this is not our last engagement with these stakeholders on this matter. As I indicated in the opening remarks of this meeting, we will continue to engage them as we continue addressing the challenges of the rural and farming communities in KwaZulu-Natal. We are seriously not doing well in terms of time. Would have loved to continue with this engagement, honorable members and all our special guests in particular. But we have to get into the second part of this discussion. What I can say to you, Baba Sibanyoni and Afra, the committee will reconvene a special meeting to deliberate on all the reports that we've received today, and the resolutions of that meeting will be shared with you. Maybe those resolutions will necessitate another urgent meeting with you so that we can address issues where we need clarities from you. Otherwise, at this point, I would like to thank you once again for availing yourselves or agreeing or accepting the invitation to this meeting. And siyabonga ukuthi you agree to partner with the legislature, especially on this matter moving forward. You are now released. The members of SAPS are released from this meeting. MEC Ntuli is released unless he wants to give support to MEC Agriculture for the next session. You are welcome to sit. Human Rights Commission, Babashi, Shamase, siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi siphinde sibonane. Siyabonga ukuthi ube yiphathi yalo mhlangano wanamhlanje. Thank you so much, and team yakho Nompumelelo. Afra, thank you so much, dear. We will keep in touch in terms of our engagements with you. Commissioner Chula and Brigadier Keswa, saying bajelile abantu Mam Keswa ukuthi uyeza eLoscope. Uyokhipha ipolice station leya esehlathini, uyoyikhipha uyizise ebantwini. Sengibachazelile ke mawungafikanga ke sekukwakho ke kusho wena in a public platform. Thank you so much, colleagues. You are released. We're now getting into our next session.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm Shengu.
Oh.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Oh, okay. I think it's true we are released.
Azange ngilibali igama lakho.
Okay, ngiyaxolisa.
Oh. All right, honorable members, Baba Nkosi ngisacela usikhumbuze i-agenda. Where are we now? Item number?
Trying to.
All right, I've got it here now. Okay. Honorable members, we're now on part 2 of our agenda. We will receive remarks from MEC Agriculture, who has been part of this meeting since 10 o'clock. MEC, thank you very much for joining us at that time. It shows interest onayo, passion onayo, commitment onayo on matters of this sector. We really appreciate that and apologize for the delays in starting the part 2 of our meeting. We couldn't stop the presentations njengoba ububona ukuthi ama-matters that we're dealing with were really serious and bekufanele ukuthi silalele ukuthi bathini abasebenzi. Siyabonga kakhulu. Over to you, Honorable MEC, or maybe before I hand over to MEC, Honorable members, I've received a request from the MEC yokuthi item number 4, they are not ready to present the turnaround strategy or a strategy, a 5-year plan on the Moy Bofana farms. They are requesting an extension on that one, and I have given a go ahead on that one. I did not consult with you, honorable members. I just agreed with that request because I did not see any logic in refusing when the department says they are not ready to present a report on this item. So item number 4 falls off the agenda yet. My apologies for not dealing with this matter when we're adopting the agenda. MEC?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. I'm also greeting my colleague, MEC Ntuli and his team, noting that they have moved out to another meetings. Chair, to your support staff and also to the department staff led by SOD. I wish to also to indicate upfront that SOD will have to leave and join the Premier. We are supposed both to be there in that meeting because of the additional responsibility is also chairing the economic cluster at Cabinet. Matters of economic recovery and that the Premier is discussing with us. And I requested that he goes and I stay this side with the team so that we present to the Portfolio Committee. That's also to indicate chairperson, hoping that the committee will accept the Bugela Pansi Committee. Kodwa simaxhasa ngapha sizama kodwa konke ukubalansa because we have a responsibility to service our communities. On that note, simatasa simtheni hey sengahlala nabeSuthu ngiyamixa ngenza isiZuthu la ngiyaxolisa sihlalo futhi sengikhulumisa isiZuthu. Chairperson, firstly sifisa ukureporta to this committee because it's our first meeting sizovela before a Portfolio Committee after incident yokuthi sishiye uDr. Ngidi, who is the chairperson of IADA board, and also Dr. Buthelezi weNAFU osishile. But sad news this morning we received ukuthi one of our local manager lapha eMzumbe has passed on, Mr. Gumede, through COVID. I think it is advisable, or I think it's better to say what is it and what is our state as a department in respect to COVID, and how is our staff members affected. At the moment, we have people who have cases of positive cases of 53, and active cases are 18. We have 19 new cases that has been reported. So we are monitoring every week the state of our staff, as we have been declared as essential services, and they have to go out and work in those communities, and also taking care of their well-being. So I wanted to report before this committee that we have that unfortunate situation of losing one of our local manager, and also losing the giant